Okay, Mark Schauer in a long concession speech, but we're going to switch back across town to the Renaissance Center ballroom where the governor has taken the stage.
That's great. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And I'll take them. Thank you very much. It's an awesome night. I want to thank each and every one of you. I want to thank Congressman Schauer. He called me, and I appreciate his courtesy. I appreciate this is how the democratic process works. So let's just be proud that we had a good race here in Michigan. And I want to thank him for that call and the courtesy of going through that process. So let's give a shout out to... I actually want to start with a few thank yous. The first thank you I want to give are to the people that gave me permission to do this. There are higher authorities in life, folks, you know that. And they're standing on stage with me. So I want to start by saying thank you to my family. I want to say thank you to all the great supporters that have been part of this campaign, the campaigns before. When I first started, in terms of looking for elected office, my initial supporters, and many of you were part of that, and you know who you are, were Margin of Error Club members. Because when we first began, I was so low in the polls, people used to come up and tell me, did you know you could be a negative number? This is progress. So I want to say thank you to all of you for the fabulous support in terms of re-electing this team so we can keep the reinvention of Michigan out. I want to say thank you to all the grassroots supporters, all the party people out there in the victory centers that make those phone calls, knocking on those doors, all that hard work. I wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for you. Thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to the team that I like to talk about the most. The team that matters the most to me. It's the team of Michigan and all the citizens of our state, because that's what we've been doing, is showing not why we're different or how we're different, but when we come together, we can do anything. So I want to say thank you to all of Michigan. For decades, the envy of the United States was the state of Michigan. They envied the wonderful jobs we had, the great quality of life we had, the wonderful things such as the Great Lakes that we have special to us. I still like to remind my fellow governors that 4 out of the 5 Great Lakes prefer Michigan. But then, we got too complacent, too content. We had the lost decade, and we did that to ourselves. We did it to ourselves because instead of recognizing the world was changing, we spent time fighting with one another. We spent too much time blaming one another, and we went to the bottom. So when you looked at it and looked at that lost decade and you turn on your TV, what did you see? You saw that company closing down and those jobs disappearing. You'd turn on that TV and you'd see that company moving out of the state, not just taking the jobs, but taking those families out of Michigan. You'd see that for sale sign going up in your neighborhood, seeing it sit there for a long time, and when it finally sold, you'd look at that price and wonder if you were underwater on your mortgage. And then you'd look for a bright event to cheer you up, and you'd go to the high school or college graduation, which is one of the wonderful events of life. And what did you hear when you asked that young person what they were doing? And they said they were going to Chicago, or they were leaving the state of Michigan. Our spirit was being broken. It was not time to fix Michigan. That was not going to be good enough. It was time for us to recognize a new path. It was time to reinvent Michigan. And that's what we've been doing. We have been reinventing Michigan by showing fighting and blame are not the answer. The answer is to be positive, to solve problems, to work together, to move forward. And it's been working. In the last 4 years, I'm proud to say we've created nearly 300,000 private sector jobs, good, well-paying jobs. When I went to new governor's school, and there is such a thing, believe it or not, they gave me a forecast of what they said would be Michigan's future through 2014. We are expected to stay at 50 out of 50 in terms of job creation. So when I talk about those 300,000, nearly 300,000 private sector jobs, we rank number 5 in the country in terms of total jobs created. In terms of home prices, the report just came out a month or so ago. Over the last 12-month period, in terms of changes in home value, in terms of increases in home value, the #1 state in the nation is the state of Michigan. And now when you go to that graduation party, and when you go up to that young person to talk to them, the answer you're going to hear more likely than not is they're staying in Michigan. In fact, look at downtown Detroit. The occupancy is 95%. So now the question is, instead of going to Chicago, they're coming to Detroit from all across the country. But when you have success like this, what's the next thing you need to do? It's not to stay where you are. It's not to stay complacent. It's time to accelerate and go even faster and get more done to reinvent our state, to create opportunities for the future. We have opportunities to do wonderful things. Fill tens of thousands of skilled trades jobs. We're going to help our young people get connected to careers, to be successful with career tech education. Get them those well-paying, those middle-class jobs. Let them find success in our state. That's just the start. We are going to lead the nation in that and show the rest of the country we make things in Michigan. Now, don't be nervous. I'm not going to go through all my plans. You know how that goes. I know if you can't sleep well, my white papers have done well with your sleeping patterns. More important than any single program, and more important than any specific law or regulation, and I do want to stop there, and I want to give a big shout out to my partners in the Michigan legislature, that Brian and I have had fabulous partners in getting an agenda done to bring Michigan forward. Let's give them a big shout out. But more important than any law or regulation is what you're starting to see happen in Michigan. We can work together. We can put aside blame. We can put aside fighting. One thing I'm proud of in this campaign is we didn't run negative ads. We didn't spend time talking about what's wrong with someone else. We spent our time talking about what the problems were and what the solutions are and how we can bring people to get those solutions in place to make a better life for Michiganders. That's a message we should be sending to the entire country. We can raise the standard of how politics should operate in this country. You don't have to go to the negative. The positive can win and show there's a better way. And it's working. We've done great things working together. in terms of the grand bargain for Detroit. It's great to see a situation now where after years of decline and years of people fighting and blaming and people talking about Detroit versus Michigan, we can stand here and say it's Detroit, Michigan, and within the end of the week, hopefully we're on a path to saying we're out of bankruptcy. And so when you see anyone in this country, after we get that resolved, do not wait for the 5 or 10 minutes of negatives. Just look them dead in the eye and say, isn't it great what's going on in Detroit and how there's a bright future there? And to put things in perspective for you, what is reinvention all about? And I know everyone's excited to get to a big party, is what this reinvention means to me, though, is we're building a foundation for generations to come. This is not just a fix, as I said. And the thing I'd ask you to visualize as to what we're doing is we're essentially doing something that if you go out in the farm country of Michigan, you'll see that centennial farmhouse. And you'll see that sign. And that sign means that family has lived in that farmhouse for 100 years or more. Go up to that family. You won't find a prouder family in all of Michigan, and they should be proud for what they've accomplished. That's what we're doing here, folks. When you're building a foundation that's going to last for generations, you have to clear the ground. You have to take on the toughest problems and make the toughest decisions. Because you can't build a foundation that's going to last that long if you leave those problems there. And that was the commitment when I ran and won the first time, is I could have left a lot of those problems for other people, but I wouldn't have been doing the service you deserve, and that's to take those issues on and to make the tough calls and to solve those problems. Thank you. We've solved a lot of them. Thank you. We've solved a lot of them. We still have some to go. But think about it. Now we're building that foundation, and we should be so proud. And the part I want each and every one of you here and anyone watching this that's a Michigander to recognize is we're doing this together. We're doing this as a team, and you should feel great pride because this is not about getting credit for what we're doing. Have you ever seen anyone get great credit for the best basement? That's not how it works, folks. We're building a foundation that's going to last, though, for 100+ years. And the people that will get the credit are the people that do the wonderful porch, the great gable on the roof, not the basement folks. But that is actually something that should really touch you in the heart, to recognize that we're doing this to make a better Michigan today, but we're doing this for our kids. These young people here, we're doing it for their kids. We're doing it for their kids. We're doing it for generations to come. We're going to build the Michigan back that we had before, but even better in terms of recognizing we're building a future for our state. And what I'm going to close with is something to say, when you go through a campaign like this, so many of you, most of you, put in tremendous energy to say, let's get through this Tuesday. But the commitment I will make to you today, and I hope you'll make it to every other Michigander yourself, is to say the passion, the fire, the excitement, the conviction to do the reinvention that you've seen through this Tuesday, I'm going to have it on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and for the next 4 years. Let's go!